Hi all, this is a guide on making scenes for our robotic arm. Well then, my arm is already running. It is calibrated and ready to move. Let's go to the scene editor, click on Get Scene List from Device. I apparently already had it open. As we observe, there are several scenes, but we aim to create a new, unique one. Click on Add. As seen here, we have the scene name and one pose. The arm always has at least one pose. What can we do here? We can send it to this pose, but it's the same as the calibration position. We can remove it, but in the scene, there must always be at least one pose, so it won't work just like that. We can edit it, enter the editor. What do we notice here? We see many sliders. Most of them are for controlling the axis of our arm. Actually, we can already control each axis in real time as observed. We slightly adjust the arm's position. It follows us directly. Break. Time 1.0. Reset 0. We can try doing the same with other axes. So, like this. So, here, we can set almost any arm position we like, with just one limitation. It's with axes B and C. In this case, the sum of angles we see here, this angle, should not exceed 180 degrees. If you do, a warning will appear and the arm will not move to the specified coordinates. As we see, a warning appeared here for axes B and C. Return it back. The arm reached. Okay, let's reset everything for now. Also, to avoid hassle, to not set these angles manually, we devised standard poses. There are 18. We can view them, for instance, the 1st, 5th, 10th, 12th. For instance, the 15th. In fact, having these points, you can already create quite cool and interesting scenes, or you can simply choose a pose and adjust it by angles. Now, a very crucial moment. If this pose in the scene is not the last, we need to set a timeout. By default, it is set to -1, but in such a scenario, the arm will wait for subsequent commands to continue playback. That is, to make the arm move from pose to pose, we need to remove this timeout. Let's set it, for example. In this case, the arm without delay, without waiting, will move to the next pose. Okay, we like this initial pose. We want to save it. For this, we click Apply Pose. Close this window, add another pose. Enter the editor. Firstly, we need to see where this pose is located. Again, click Go to Pose. Since this will not be the last pose, we remove the timeout. Let's set it here to 1 second. That is, the arm will wait 1 second and only then move to the next point. For this, we choose, for example, pose number 8. Yes, let's do that. And we will change the speed and acceleration, make it a bit faster. Save. Add another pose. Also remove the timeout. Slightly change the acceleration and speed. Choose, say, pose number 15. Well, Apparently our scene will have transitions, but that's okay. We'll get to that a little later. And let's add the final pose. Break. Time. Make it faster, for instance. Pose number 9. Let's see where it arrives. Even the first one. Yes, it will arrive at the first pose. And here we leave -1, so that the arm stops at the last point at the end of the scene playback. We saved it close. In this particular scene, we are not going to experience any loss or defeat, so let's go ahead and press the button to return to the beginning. It will go to the first point, this one, and click play. The scene, now it waited a second, and as we can see, it stopped at the last point. We can also play it by steps like this, to the last, to the first, to the third, like this. Excellent. Now we want, say, to set this scene, but first, it's important for us to save it on the arm if we have any unsaved data changes on the arm. When you press the close button, a relevant window will appear, and in such a scenario, we will be required to press the Write Changes button. In such a scenario, the modifications will be preserved in the memory of the device, and we will not have to upload it onto the device every single time. All right? Now this particular scene is saved, and we have the ability to play it again after turning the device off and on. Let's view it via play control. It's already selected. My fancy scene, press play. Seems great. Similarly, you have the option to create any other scenes. Within a scene you can add up to 32 steps, which is more than sufficient, resulting in quite lengthy scenes. So let your imagination run wild and experiment freely. Thanks.